Okay, I've come out to this abandoned house. I saw it on the side of the road the other day when I was driving by, and I thought it might make an interesting photograph. The light is getting a little bit tricky here. We've got some hot spots. It's going in and out, so hopefully the light will cooperate with me. I brought along my 5x7 camera. That's kind of a new acquisition for me. Gotten interested lately in shooting 5x7. So I'm going to get the camera set up, find the composition, and we'll see how it goes. Okay, so what I'm putting on here is an adapter board, a Rittreck. This is a Rittreck 5x7 camera, which is basically a Wista, but this is a Rittreck to Linhof adapter board. So then I don't have to get a bunch of large adapter boards for every lens. I can just have my smaller Linhof type boards. The only thing I don't like about this camera is that the camera won't compact up with the adapter board on, so that's a little bit annoying, but not a big deal. I just take it off and put it on when I set up the camera. Okay, so with me today I've got a 250mm lens, a 210mm lens, a 180mm lens, and a 150mm lens. Now the standard on 5x7 is 210, so with my initial setup here I'm going to go a little bit wider with a 180mm lens. This is a Rodenstock N, which, well, actually it's a Kaltar 2N, but it's a rebranded Rodenstock. So what's going on right now is that it's humid out, so the lens had a little bit of humidity fogging some of the elements, and I noticed a smudge on the back side here, so I'm going to wipe that off with my t-shirt. It's a soft cloth. I just do it lightly. Some people probably watching this video will be horrified that I'm using my t-shirt, but when you're in the field you've got to use what you have, and I do have a lens cloth, but I don't want to get out and grab it real fast. I've used t-shirts for years and they've worked fine. Okay, so you might notice this little piece of tape that I have on the camera here on the lens board. All that has on there is information about diffraction limitation on this lens, where diffraction starts beginning, so I know when I'm getting a diminishing return on my sharpness based on how far I'm stopping down the f-stop, which, by the way, on this lens is f22.5. All right, so I'm gonna get it all set up. I'm gonna get my dark cloth. I'm gonna start assessing my composition. I feel like maybe I'm a little too close. I might have to move the composition around a little bit, but first thing is to get the dark cloth and start looking at the ground glass. This is a bail back. I kind of like the bail back system. So it's got a bail back here to load the film in the side. And then this is nice because you've got a hood here that you could use with the Rittreck, or you can swing it out of the way and just look right at the ground glass, which is what I'm going to do. On the newer Wistas, what I like, the 4x5 Wista I have, this can be removed very easily. Here it just swings out of the way, but it stays permanently attached. Not a problem. Just making sure my lens is open. Okay, so I'm going to switch over to a 150mm lens to give me an even wider angle of view, because I don't feel like this is wide enough with the 180. I like the 180 because it's nice and sharp. It's a good sharp lens. So it's a nice sharp lens, but it seems, going out of camera here, it seems a little bit, it's not wide enough. So I'm going to switch over to the 150. Okay, I've actually switching over to the 150mm lens now. Like I said earlier, the composition just wasn't wide enough, so the 150 will probably take care of it just fine for me. And yes, I can tell already that's much better. I'm obviously going to have to do some movements here to correct for perspective and the focal plane. But yes, it's much more to my liking in terms of the angle of view. So one thing here that's going on is I've got a slight up angle on the camera. So this thing here, the hinged hood, keeps knocking me in the side of the face when I'm underneath the dark cloth, which is annoying. So I am going to close it and use the hood itself to compose. I'm going to refine my composition here, get the camera movements that I need, the perspective controls in the focal plane. Hopefully the light cooperates by the time I'm ready to press down on the shutter. I've still got a meter and everything like that, so there's a lot to do here yet, but it's part of the joys of large format photography. And then, well, the wind as well. We got to worry about the wind. Always the wind with large format. Okay, I've refined the composition and gotten my movements all set up. Basically, I've got some rear tilt for perspective control, front tilt for the focal plane, a little bit of front rise on it as well. I'm going to use HP5 because it's a fairly contrasty scene, and HP5 is inherently a little bit lower in contrast. So I'm going to rate my HP5 at ISO 200, and I'm going to meter in the shadows of this tree here, and I'll cross-reference with some of the other shadows as well, but mainly I'm concerned about the shadow in that tree. I'm going to rate it on a zone 4, so I'm going to go ahead and meter that now. Alright, it gives me a reading of f32 at half a second. Now that would place it in a zone 5 if I set the camera to that, because the reflective spot meter will place anything you meter on it at zone 5. So I'm going to cut that exposure one stop to f32 at a fourth of a second, which would put that in zone 4. So I'm going to get set up here and take a photograph. Okay, well, I've got the film all loaded up, ready to go. f32 at a fourth of a second, the lights come out. I'm just waiting for the wind to die down a little bit. Those of you who are used to shooting large format understand the concern about slow shutter speeds and subject movement. Fourth of a second isn't that slow of a shutter speed, but you still have to pay attention to the subtle movement of foliage in a shot if you don't want it. Looks like I've got it right about now. Okay, so hopefully that turned out well. Look at that, the light just disappeared right after I took the shot. But we got the light during the shot. I'm going to put the dark slide back in. I'll pack everything up and head out. Hopefully this turned out well. Again, I have to cross-reference the high values. My thought here, just by my eye, when the light was out, was about N-2 probably. I'm not thrilled by the lighting. I wish that the light, there's quite a bit of foliage over here that's throwing dappled light on this house. It could turn out well, could not, but I didn't see where the light was going to improve much over time, so I just wanted to get a shot in. This isn't too far away from where I live, so I could revisit if needs be, but hopefully the HP5 will cut the contrast a little bit. So, all right, I'm going to get packed up and head out.